2020 is about to come to an end, and it hasn't been a great year at all, but it has been a very good year for movies on 4K Blu-ray. So this video is going to be my very best top 10 4K Blu-rays of the year, so stick around for the full list. Hello there, my name's Elliot, and this channel is all about collecting movies on Blu-ray. So, my top 10 4K discs of the year. I can't believe it's the end of the year. We got there, and it has been a tremendous year, like I said, for movies on 4K Blu-ray. I have 10 releases in particular that I'd love to share with you in this video. Now, being a top 10 list, these are my own opinions about these 4K Blu-rays. So there may well be some disagreements about what should be on a top 10 list. These are just my favourites and the ones I had the best experience with in 2020. With the 4K discs on this list, I'm taking into account the picture quality, the audio quality, the special features and packaging in some of them, and then also the movies themselves, because there are no movies on this list that I don't like. So I like all of these movies. Because I'm only human and I don't have unlimited time nor an unlimited bank account, I haven't been able to watch every single 4K disc that has come out this year. So there will be some notable things missing from here. The one that comes to the top of my head is the Columbia Classics Volume 1 box set that included Lawrence of Arabia and Dr. Strangelove. I just haven't bought that one yet. I've not viewed it, and I'm sure if I had, that would be on this list somewhere because I've heard so many great reviews. Another example of something that is not on my list but will be on many other people's lists is the Lord of the Rings trilogy on 4K. Now, I've discussed this in some detail in my review on this channel, so if you want to hear my thoughts on this particular release and why it's not on my top 10 list, go and check out that video review. Okay, so before we get into the top 10 itself, I do have 3 honourable mentions. That's just because it was so hard to narrow down to 10 this year because the quality has been so high overall. The first one is Jaws. Jaws is a classic. Everyone knows Jaws, and I was so pleased with this disc. The audio quality is great. There's a really big visual improvement over the older Blu-ray. So if you're a fan of Jaws, this is essential, and I definitely recommend checking this one out. There's actually a bit of a thematic link from Jaws with this next one. It's Tremors from Arrow Video. This is their 4K special limited edition box set. You get the disc, you get a booklet, a poster, tons of special features, etc. Tremors is basically Jaws on land. So if you like Jaws, definitely check out Tremors from Arrow Video. And the last honourable mention before I get into the top 10 is The Blues Brothers, the film by John Landis. This looks and sounds amazing on 4K. It's a great disc from Universal, and there's a few more Universal discs that I'll be talking about a bit later on. I was so happy with this. All of the sequences with the music sound amazing, the special effects, all of the car crashes and the explosions look and sound absolutely amazing, and the film grain is intact, so there's a beautiful filmic look to this movie, so definitely recommended if you're a fan of the Blues Brothers. So with the honourable mentions out of the way, let's move on to the top 10, and in 10th position is War of the Worlds. This is starring Tom Cruise, directed by Steven Spielberg. Now this film is, first of all, a very underrated Steven Spielberg movie. This is actually one of my favourite Spielberg movies. It's so different in tone to a lot of the other movies that he's made. It's a movie that very much focuses on terror and panic in a post 9/11 America, and it's just a great alien invasion movie. It looks and sounds incredible. I had no issues with the picture at all, and I actually felt that a lot of the CGI special effects from 2005 actually held up quite well in this movie. They were a lot better than I remember them being when I last watched the movie. So I was very surprised at that, because sometimes when a film gets upgraded to 4K, the visual effects really stand out. And then with the audio track, the Dolby Atmos on this is absolutely stellar, maybe one of the best audio tracks I've heard on a 4K disc. So I totally recommend this to anyone who's a fan of this movie. At number 9, I have Flash Gordon. This is the Studio Canal limited edition set from the UK, but it's the pretty much exact same release as the Arrow Video 4K over in the US. So if you want to check this out, you can pick up either version. I did do a review on this earlier in the year, so I'll link that video down below. But basically, repeating what I said there is a lot to love about this 4K disc. So in terms of the visuals, the thing that really stood out to me was the HDR color grade, because this is a very colorful movie. There's a lot of reds, a lot of bright golds and yellows and greens. So all of the colors look absolutely amazing in 4K. There's a really nice filmic look to the image, so all of the film grain is intact. And then the audio is absolutely tremendous, and that Queen soundtrack, the iconic music, it just sounds so good on this release. If you do happen to pick up this Studio Canal limited edition, you get tons of extras. You get it in this nice thick box, and it's very shiny. So all around, a brilliant 4K release. Number 8 on this list is Gemini Man. Now this might be the most controversial one on this list, but I really enjoyed Gemini Man. And this disc is an absolute standout one if you want to show off what 4K can really offer. Now the reason a lot of people don't like this movie, first of all, people say it's got a weak story and a weak plot and dialogue. I actually greatly enjoyed it. But another reason is that it uses a higher frame rate than the typical 24 frames per second that most movies are shot at. The film has been presented at 48 frames per second, and on this disc it's actually 60 frames per second. So it has that soap opera effect, that hyper realistic look. A lot of people say it's a gimmick, but I actually think it ties very well into the themes of the movie. And if you want to show off your system, this is the one, because the sequences, in particular some of the ones that are in tropical areas, are very colourful, and it's just absolutely mind-blowing, the picture quality on this disc. Number 7 on this list is Crash from Arrow Video. Now, I was very excited for this one because I broke a rule actually with regards to my buying on 4K. Usually I only buy a movie on 4K if I've seen it and I really like it. But with Crash, I had never seen this movie before. And that's because it was so hard to get a hold of. It couldn't be found on Blu-ray, and all of the DVDs were out of print, I believe. So it was very hard to track down indeed. So when a 4K restoration was announced by Arrow, I was jumping for joy that I would finally get to see this movie in great quality. The picture is amazing, very filmic looking. There's been no digital noise reduction here. The audio as well is tremendous. The film itself is a very peculiar one. It deals with some very taboo subjects, particularly for the time that it was made. But it's David Cronenberg and he tackles it in such a brilliant way. And in terms of the extras that you get within this set, you get a booklet and then there's tons of extras on the disc. It's pretty much the perfect release of Crash on 4K. Number 6 on this list is 1917. This is on a lot of people's lists in the top spot, and in any other year this probably would have been a contender for number 1 release of the year. But like I said, 2020 has brought us so many great gifts in terms of brilliant 4K discs. 1917 is stunning, and this is down to the brilliant collaboration between the director Sam Mendes and the cinematographer Roger Deakins. The picture is crystal clear. You can see absolutely everything in the image. The HDR grade is subtle, but does really help liven some of the drab colours of World War I. And the audio track is absolutely incredible. I thoroughly recommend this release for anyone who hasn't picked up 1917 yet. If you're enjoying this list of my top 10 4K releases of the year, please do consider subscribing to the channel because it would really help me out and you would hear about these videos as soon as they get uploaded. Anyway, let's get back to the list. Number 5 on this list is Dawn of the Dead. This is the 4K release from Second Sight here in the UK, but being 4K, it is region free, so you can import this wherever you are in the world and enjoy it in brilliant 4K quality. I did review this release on this channel earlier in the year, so I'll include a link to that video review down below. It's just a tremendous release. You get multiple cuts of the movie. You get tons of special features spread across the discs. There are some books inside here. There's so much extra stuff. It's in this really thick, nice box with minimal logos and stuff like that. So it's just a great display piece as well. This is the ultimate Dawn of the Dead collection, and I couldn't imagine a better release. So well done to Second Sight. Number 4 is The Lady Killers. This is one of my all-time favourite movies. It's a British classic, and if you've not seen The Lady Killers, definitely check this out because it still stands up to this day. This was a real surprise announcement earlier this year because I didn't expect it to get a 4K release, and the results are stunning. When you compare this to the older previous Blu-ray, it is night and day, and I could not imagine this film could ever look this good. The film grain is perfectly intact, but the HDR really does amp up the colours in this movie, and the audio sounds crystal clear. This genuinely is the best this movie has ever been presented. This release is a UK release, but you can import it because it will play on any player. And if you do manage to get this special edition, which comes in this very nice box set, there are multiple discs with tons of special features. There's an audio CD, and there's just lots of extra goodies inside. So that makes this one of my favourite 4K releases of the year. Moving on to number 3, I have Tenet. And this was a very late edition because this has only just been released. But this 4K disc blew me away. I was lucky enough to see Tenet at the cinema earlier this year, and it's one of the only movies that I've seen in a theatre in 2020. So this film will forever hold a special place in my heart just because it will remind me of what we've gone through this year and how the movie industry has really suffered during 2020. But that aside, the picture quality in this is reference quality. This might be one of the best pictures on a 4K disc that I have ever seen. Many people have had issues with this film because of the audio mix, not on the disc, but just the film in general. Now, Christopher Nolan has talked about this, and he said that the dialogue in parts in this movie is meant to not be totally heard, which is a strange choice, but it's his choice as the filmmaker. So do bear in mind going into this movie that sometimes the sound effects and the music are so loud that you can't actually hear what some of the characters are saying. To be honest, I don't think it's as bad as some people are making it out to be, and I had no problems picking up the dialogue in this movie, except for that one scene when they're on a boat and the water is so loud, and I think that's the one that Christopher Nolan has had to defend in particular. It's a tremendous 4K disc, and if this doesn't blow you away, I don't know what will. Number 2 on this list is the Alfred Hitchcock Classics Collection. Now, there are 4 movies in this set, and these are some of my favourite movies of all time. So when this release got announced, I was so hopeful that it would turn out well, and it really, really did. It exceeded my expectations. I would say that all 4 of these 4K discs are massive upgrades over the older Blu-rays, but in particular I want to single out Vertigo. Now, Vertigo is one of my favourite movies of all time, and this 4K disc is like seeing it anew for the first time. Vertigo is a very colourful movie, and the HDR grade on this disc is out of this world. It looks so amazing, and the uptick in detail in terms of resolution and the clarity in the image is so great. I'm so pleased with how Vertigo looks. The rest of the films as well in this set are all massive upgrades, like I said, so you can buy this set in confidence. The only real issue that people have had with this release is with Psycho. And on the Psycho discs, there is a missing audio track. The original mono track is missing. Now, Universal have issued a replacement program, so you can apply for replacement discs. I haven't received a replacement disc yet, but it's good that they're fixing it. And I think once that issue has been solved, I think this is an all-round release. So definitely recommended. And number one on this list of top 4K Blu-rays of the year is Spartacus. Now, I did not expect Spartacus to be topping this list when it first got announced, but I am so glad to have had that expectation shattered. Spartacus isn't even my favourite movie on this list, and it certainly is nowhere near my favourite Stanley Kubrick movie. It's even down towards the bottom of that list. But in terms of how to present a movie on a 4K disc with standout visuals and standout audio, this is it. Dare I say this is a near perfect 4K Blu-ray. Spartacus is a long movie, it's over 3 hours long, and while it is directed by Stanley Kubrick, it's the only movie that he didn't have complete control over. So it isn't up to the quality of his other movies, but I still think it is a brilliant movie. The visuals in this movie are perfect. The film was shot in Technorama, it looks absolutely crystal clear, film grain is intact, and it looks, completely amazing. The HDR grade really boosts a lot of the colours in this movie, and I just love the visual presentation. The audio is absolutely brilliant as well. Dialogue is crystal clear, the music sounds amazing, sound effects are very well mixed. So all around, this is a tremendous release. To top it off as well, there are some extras on the disc talking about the restoration of Spartacus. There's a conversation with the late Kirk Douglas talking about his memories of making this movie. So yeah, for my money, this is the best 4K release of 2020. But do let me know if you agree. I've not actually heard too many people include this on their top lists of the year. So hopefully I'm not alone, but I thoroughly recommend you get Spartacus on 4K. There you have it. That's my top 10 4K releases of 2020. I do hope you've enjoyed this list. Please do let me know what your favourite 4K releases of 2020 were, because I would love to hear your opinions in the comments section below. I want to say a huge thank you to everyone who has supported this channel this year. It's been tremendous, and a particular thank you to anyone who has pledged to my Patreon page. I'll include my Fellini Fanatics names on screen, and my Patreon producers Jason and Paul. Thank you so much. I really am very excited about the future of this channel. So thank you to everyone who has supported it. If you want to stick around on the channel, check out the videos presented on screen now. There's one that is my top 5 favourite 4K discs overall, and then there's one about whether 4K is worth it or not. I'll be back very soon, so until then, stay well, have a very good new year, and keep watching great movies.